Good morning. May we begin with a call to worship as read by Reverend Bill Sinkford, former president of the UUA at GA in 2017. Spirit of life, come into us. We call on the spirit of our ancestors, our religious ancestors, as in Ballou and Channing, Sophia Foss, and Ken Patton, ancestors who bequeathed to us a faith that promised love for all of us and saw hope in each of us. Our religious ancestors, like Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, Ethelred Brown, Bill Jones, and Marjorie Bowens, ancestors who spoke from the margins and began to shape a faith that spoke from the margins but brought the margins to the center. We call on our personal and our family ancestors, all those who have mothered and fathered and parented and helped shape us into the persons and the community that has gathered here. We call on a great cloud of witnesses whose hope lives on through us. They are present within us and present among us as we gather together in this faith that is our religious home. As we gather together, held in the chalice of the community, inspired by the promise of love, which we do not need to earn, and the commitment to justice, which is our abiding hope. Good morning, my name is Bill Scrimshire, and I'd like to welcome you to this special service at All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church. One thing we like to do is welcome our visitors. If we have visitors, we hope that you feel comfortable standing and identifying yourself. And if you've brought visitors, that's great. You can stand and let us know who they are, or maybe you have met a visitor who brought themselves and you'd like to introduce them. At this time, do we have any visitors here? Right here we do, right at the very front. Yes, ma'am. That's great, great. It's always nice to have Shawnee Mission with us. Others? I saw a hand, but it was a kid waving. Anyone else? Don't be afraid. We're friendly here. If you are a visitor, there is a Sunday Plus lunch today. Sunday Plus lunch means that you get to join us for lunch free of charge. If you go to the visitor center at the back of the foyer, you can gather in a little group and you'll be escorted to lunch. And your lunch is free. The rest of us get to pay. And that goes to our general budget, so that's a worthwhile thing. Thank you.
All right, so as the last official Sunday of our sabbatical, we're continuing our sabbatical tradition of a service that's a little different from usual. And since we just recently had General Assembly, we thought this would be a great time to offer an experience and a chance to see inside General Assembly, which is the annual denominational gathering of Unitarian Universalism. You'll see some video clips, you'll hear some readings, and all of our music today are songs from GA worship services, except for the offering. I want to thank Kendall for being part of the, let's take a look at the overall plan and catching that perhaps wade in the water while a very rousing and moving spiritual is not perhaps the most timely song to use when we're collecting for hurricane relief. Sometimes the passion of planning overlooks the fine details. But part of General Assembly, part of the opening ceremony, is a banner parade where banners are presented by members of congregations who are represented at GA. And so we have a short clip of the banner parade and some music, and we have our own 2 banners for All Souls and Shawnee Mission.
Good morning. Brings back really fond memories of GA in New Orleans this year. We Meet on Holy Ground by Richard S. Gilbert. We meet on holy ground, brought into being as life encounters life, as personal histories merge into the communal story, as we take on the pride and pain of our companions, as separate selves becomes community. How desperate is our need for one another, our silent beckoning to our neighbors, our invitations to share life and death together, our welcome into the lives of those we meet, and their welcome into our own. May our souls capture this treasured time. May our spirits celebrate our meeting in this time and in this space, for we meet on holy ground.
Good morning. So, how many of you have been to heard of General Assembly? All right, almost everybody. How many have been to a General Assembly? All right, almost half this morning. I've been to about 10. The first one I attended was in Quebec City in 2002, so that was a good introduction to General Assembly. The UUA was created in 1961 with the merger of the Universalist Church of America, which was founded in 1793, and the American Universalist Association, founded in 1825. Since the merger in 61, there have been 56 General Assemblies, with the first one being in 1962 in Washington, D.C. This year in New Orleans, 638 congregations out of more than 1,000 UUA member congregations were represented from all 50 states and the District of Columbia. Each certified congregation has one member delegate for every 50 members. This year, 13 of us attended GA and 7 of us were delegates. Overall, there were 1,660 on-site member delegates, 443 ministerial and religious educator delegates, and 238 off-site delegates from 35 states, for a total of 2,341 delegates. And the total registration for GA was just over 4,000, including 320 youth. So that's the composition of General Assembly, and hopefully we'll have something similar next June, here in Kansas City.
Hi, my name's Ruth Robarge. I was one of those 7 delegates from All Souls. 2 chalices, very cool. Today we're using a special chalice. It was created by Mordecai Roth, a UU from Surprise, Arizona. Dr. Roth was a dentist until he retired when he turned to sculpture. The chalice has been displayed at all of our UUA General Assembly since 2006. This chalice will be shared and travel among the congregations of the Mid-America region over the next year. It'll finish its journey at our next GA, June 20th through 24th, 2018, at Bartle Hall, right here in Kansas City. So now you do your thing. You going to read anything? Okay, we'll do this together. All right.
Good morning. My name is Sierra, and I light this chalice for a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
Now would you stand in body or in spirit and join with us in repeating the words of our covenant and remain standing for the following hymn. Goodwill is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. My order of service doesn't have the words, so.
All right, I'd like to invite the children to come on down, or anybody who feels like a child today. So, part of General Assembly is the Synergy Bridging Program, which is a chance where kids who are in high school or college get a chance to officially bridge or to kind of change roles from one part of life to the next. And so this is a story that one of the youth shared during that bridging ceremony. Now, full disclaimer, being a UU, I looked up the story to try and find out, was it really true? Which ties in perfectly with our principle this morning, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. The exact story never happened, but it is based on behavioral experiments that were done with monkeys. So I kind of think of it like a parable from the Christian tradition or a koan from the Buddhist tradition, that the entire story might not be true, but it still has some really important things that we could learn. So here's our story. There was a study done on monkeys. They put a bunch of monkeys in a room with a ladder, and they put a banana up on the top of the ladder. And what do you think the monkeys wanted to do? Yeah, they wanted to eat the banana. Well, there was a trick. The first time a monkey climbed up the ladder to get the banana, the experimenters sprayed all the rest of the other monkeys with cold water and made them cold and shivery. And what do you think happened? When that first monkey came back down the ladder, the other monkeys got mad, and they beat up the first monkey because he went and got the banana, and they all got sprayed. Well, they did that several times, and eventually the monkeys learned, don't go up the ladder. No matter how good that banana looks, if you go up the ladder, bad things happen. We don't want to get sprayed with water. Well, the next step, they turned off the water. And they still, if a new monkey came and tried to climb the ladder, all the other monkeys got mad and beat up on him because, oh, you don't climb up the ladder and get the banana. And one by one, they changed out monkeys until there were no more monkeys left who had been there who actually had ever gotten sprayed with water. Then they bring in a new monkey who sees the banana up on top of the ladder. He goes to climb the ladder, and all the monkeys start getting mad and beat up on him. Why? Well, because that's the way things always are here. Now, does that seem kind of silly? Those monkeys had never gotten sprayed. They never saw anybody getting sprayed for trying to get the banana. But they did it because that's the way things always happen here. So, now, that's not always a bad thing for things the way things always happen, because personal experience, I work nighttime, which means I sleep during the day, and I've always had dogs. Well, you know what dogs do when people come to the door or drop off the mail? They bark. That's my best dog impression, I'm sorry. But very early on, my dog learned if she was in the bedroom with me when I was sleeping during the day, she didn't bark. Well, we've got new dogs and other dogs over the years. My very first dog has died, and now we've got dogs who never knew that first dog, but they've learned if you're in the bedroom when I'm sleeping during the day, you don't bark. So, sometimes the way we've always done it here is a good thing, and sometimes it might not be such a good thing anymore. And so it's a part of our job as Unitarian Universalists, if we're doing a search for free and responsible search for truth and meaning, to always think, is the way we've always done it necessarily a good thing anymore? So there you go. There's our story for today, and you all get to go downstairs, and I think you get to watch a movie today. All right, so thank you. And we don't have the song for the children today because they didn't have a video for that from GA.
I'm glad. I was about to say we'll sing the children out. I guess we won't. Just, yes, a smile and a wave is satisfactory. It's time now for our offertory. You may have noticed in the broadcast media that people are warned not to give to just any charity. Make sure it is a legitimate charity. Some people are out there just to take your money. Well, here's your chance to give to the UU Service Committee. All your money will be used to go to hurricane relief, Hurricane Harvey, the hurricane, and the devastating flood. So those victims, those people who are suffering, will get your dollars. They will get relief from today's offering. If you're writing a check, make sure you make the check to All Souls Church and put hurricane relief, or put special offering. You don't have to write what it's for, just special offering, and it will be sent to the right place. Morning offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Journey
join with us now in the words of dedication for our offering. We dedicate our offerings and our actions to the mission at the heart of this congregation, to build a respectful, caring community, to inspire personal and spiritual growth, and to update a just and compassionate society.
Though we tremble before uncertain futures, may we meet illness, death, and adversity with strength. May we dance in the face of our fears, writes trailblazer Gloria Andalsua, who knew a thing or two about courage. Courage requires both vulnerability and careful strategy. I am not unlike other people of color in mostly white company in that I don't often show my full self. I'm guarded, not inauthentic, because the me that has learned to navigate mostly white spaces definitely is part of me. It just isn't my whole self. To bring my full self certainly would mean risking being misunderstood, but more than that, I would risk inviting even more harmful words and behaviors into my day. Each day is an ever exhausting dance of negotiating each interaction and conversation. How much of me do I allow this person or group to see? How much of that decision is about risking vulnerability, and how much is about self-preservation? Hundreds of times a day, I must ask myself, who benefits from this risk more? This time, does stepping out into the unknown or withholding my full self simply serve to alleviate the discomfort of another? Or does it bring me closer to true freedom? Courage is not demanding safety when confronting annoyance of having one's haughty and long-held answers questioned. It is incompatible with despair. Courage is not becoming defensive or insisting on being viewed as an individual when the privileges of membership in a dominant group are brought to light. Rather, courage recognizes that growth insists on a willingness to be utterly transformed. Courage is not believing that anyone is quote-unquote helping or coming to the quote-unquote assistance of members of marginalized groups. Rather, it is recognizing that the need to play savior comes from the societal brainwashing caused by systems that convince some they are superior over others. Courage is seeking one's own liberation from these lies, knowing it will require a relinquishment of power and an admittance that they've been bamboozled. Courage does not require perfection from us, or airtight plans, or even expertise. But I'll tell you what courage does require. Courage requires taking great risks while stepping into the unknown. It takes no courage to shut one's mouth, step aside, and listen when needed. The only thing at risk here is one's ego and a self-identity built around this myth of superiority. Courage does not ask us to stop trembling. It asks us to find ways to incorporate our trembles into our dance. Courage, the faithful companion of hope, keeps us going, traveling into the unknown, knowing that both smooth sailing and rough waters are ahead. Courage is sticking around when the quote we and the quote us are spoken in contexts that clearly don't mean me. Courage is claiming this faith as home when nearly everything around me says that I'm out of place, yet everything inside me says I am at home. Courage is the generations and generations of ancestors who taught us to actively pursue joy, laughter, celebration alongside our outrage, grief, and fatigue. The goddess Tonantzin, Madre de los Mexicos, bringer of corn, Nuestra Morenita, teaches that we can make for ourselves a place of comfort and leave room for wonder, even when our home has been invaded and has become nearly unrecognizable. Courage is being firm and saying, I know exactly where home is and what it looks like. I will figure out any way to get there with the help of good friends. We will dance the whole way there through the terrifying unknown. I will brave the rough waters, knowing that my boat may be small, but it is so strong. I'll leave a trail of beauty in my wake, so that other courageous seekers who follow will not be lonely on their journeys, because despite all, this river in my soul will not let me forget that I am somebody.
Good morning. Buenos dias. It's good to be back at All Souls. Okay. General Assembly is the annual meeting of our Unitarian Universalist Association. Attendees worship, witness, learn, connect, and make policy for the association through the democratic process. Anyone may attend, so not all attendees are delegates voting in the general sessions. Here is a brief summary of what happened this year at General Assembly. Bylaws. In the description of the many sources from which our living tradition draws, which you can find in the front of the gray hymnal, is the phrase, words and deeds of prophetic men and women, which challenges us. That was changed to words and deeds of prophetic people. Electing officials. Delegates elected members to a number of bodies within the UUA, including the Board of Trustees, the Nominating Committee, the Board of Review, the Commission on Social Witness, the Commission on Appraisal, and the GA Planning Committee. Delegates also elected the first female president of the UUA, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray. She was lead minister of the UU Congregation of Phoenix, Arizona. Number 3, choosing study questions. Delegates at the 2016 General Assembly in Columbus, Ohio, selected The Corruption of Our Democracy to be the 2016 to 2020 Congregational Study Action Issue, CSAI, of our congregations. The Congregational Study Action Issue is an invitation for congregations to take a topic of concern and engage it, reflect on it, learn about it, respond to it, comment on it, and take action, each in their own way. A CSAI is not a statement, it is a question. The next Congregational Study Action Issue will be chosen at next year's GA here in Kansas City. Statements of conscience. As part of the Congregational Study Action Issue process, a statement of conscience is drafted in the third year by the Commission on Social Witness and presented to congregations and delegates for comments, proposed amendments, and finally approval. This year, the statement of conscience was the issue of escalating economic inequality. Let's see. Responsive resolutions. There were 3 approved this year, making the Standing on the Side of Love campaign more inclusive to acknowledge the contributions of people of all abilities. The second resolution, combating escalating inequality. And the third, appointment of a study commission to consider adding an 8th principle. Almost half of attendees, just under 2,000, were not voting delegates who attend GA for the last 3 aspects. Sharing best practices. There were over 175 programming selections for ministers, religious professionals, and lay people, offered over the course of 5 days, covering topics from accessibility and anti-oppression to religious professionals and church staffing, social justice, and stewardship, with dedicated tracks for young adults and youth. There is also an exhibition hall with displays from over 90 UU organizations, affiliates, social justice groups, schools of divinity, and commercial vendors. Social justice. Social justice is pursued through actions, including local service projects, as well as multiple other ways detailed in the insert in your order of service. And finally, renewal of faith, energy, and direction. Attendees have the opportunity to worship with thousands of other UUs at daily morning worship services, the service of the living tradition, the bridging ceremony, and the opening and closing ceremonies. It's quite a bit.
Obviously, I'm not Leanne, and she wasn't feeling well today, so I'm taking her part. Anne mentioned the service of the living tradition. That's an annual part of General Assembly where UUs honor ministers who have died, recognize those who have completed active service, and welcome those who have received fellowship and also credentialed or certified status in the past year. This year's sermon at the Service of the Living Tradition was delivered by the Reverend Cheryl M. Walker, who has served as the pastor of the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Wilmington, North Carolina, since 2009. Prior to going to Wilmington, she served 4 years as the assistant minister at the Unitarian Church of All Souls in New York City. Reverend Walker currently serves as the president of the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association. She holds a bachelor's degree in mathematics from Springfield College and a Master of Divinity from the Union Theological Seminary of New York. In her sermon, which we will hear, she asks, "We come into our UU communities to do some good as we make some friends and grow our souls. What other motivations might we bring with us, and which ones do we need to check at the door? What difference do we want to make with the time we have?"
So I was an early adopter of Facebook. finding out what my friends were doing, and I didn't so much mind their pictures of food that I could not smell nor taste. And I really liked finding out who was having a birthday. Like today, I found out Sarah Lambert is having a birthday. But lately, I've been thinking that Facebook and all of social media may have been inspired by Satan. And I don't even believe in Satan. We may have the technology for social media, but from what I have observed, we have not sociologically, emotionally, and psychologically evolved enough to use technology well. Perhaps one day we will, but today we use social media as a weapon as often as we use it as a tool. So I have become the queen of scrolling, because there are just days when I am only looking for cute little cat videos. Want to know about the world, the nation, or the latest upheaval within Unitarian Universalism. Just make me laugh, because I'm tired of crying. A while ago, I came across a post that made me laugh out loud. It was entitled, "Badly Describe Your Profession." And some of my esteemed colleagues, who apparently also needed a good laugh, posted some fine responses. Here are a few of them. Their names will not be used so as to protect the guilty. Once a week, I talk about stuff I'm interested in, and I get mad if everybody doesn't come to listen. The rest of the time, I worry about money. I patrol the parking lot, making sure no one is parked in the spot reserved for the minister. I get paid to keep my head in the clouds and make changes at an incredibly slow pace. Also remove melted wax from many surfaces. My salary is decent, but I also receive compensation in the form of cookies, endless newspaper clippings, and homemade jars of jam. I talk for an hour a week, butt into other people's personal lives, and go to meetings about creating more meetings. On Sunday, I tell people they can make the world a better place. When things don't improve that week, I repeat myself. There is some truth in each of these responses. But I think the greatest truth is the last one. We tell people they can make the world a better place, and we repeat ourselves, and we'll keep repeating ourselves over and over and over again. Because if we didn't believe we could make the world a better place, I suspect most clergy, religious educators, musicians, administrators, membership coordinators, any religious professional would give up this endeavor called Unitarian Universalist ministry. We repeat ourselves week after week, and we hope, we pray that someone is actually listening, that someone will actually be impacted by our words, that we are actually making a difference. I think that every person who answers their life's calling does so with the intent of making a difference. It's not just ministers who listen to what their lives are calling them to do. We ministers may act like we're the only one who received the call, but it isn't true. Many people hear a call in their hearts and minds and souls. All of us can. And when we answer the call, we make a vow that we shall follow it through to the end. We may make that vow to the Lord, to God, to the goddess, to the universe, to humanity, to whatever it was that put that call on our hearts. We make a vow to make a difference and follow it through to the end. Every year, one of the most moving parts of this service for me is when we call out the names of those dear colleagues who followed their vows to the very end. I usually don't know most of their names. The longer I am in ministry, the more names I know, but still most of the names are unknown to me. I know this. I know that one day my name will be called, a long time from now, inshallah. And there will be people who will not know my name, and that will be fine. It will mean that I lived a good, long life and actually got to retire. So no people entering ministry won't know me and won't know my name. This calling, any calling, isn't about making a name. It's about making a difference. When you begin an endeavor, follow any course your life calls you to follow, you need to ask yourself this: do I want to make a name, or do I want to make a difference? Most of the people whose names we did not know spent their lives toiling in the proverbial vineyard, just trying to make a difference, one life at a time. There may have been times when they were the right person at the right time, in the right place, and in that moment they made a big difference. But I bet none of them started with the intent of making a name for themselves. You may make a name if you make a big enough difference, But if your objective is to make a name for yourself and you happen to make a difference, it probably won't be a positive one. Because the difference you made was all about you and your ego. When one is out to make a name for themselves, they are not interested in anything other than themselves. Oh, they may say they're trying to change the world. They may say they are just trying to speak the truth, but they are really just trying to make a name for themselves. And how can you tell these name makers? How can you tell if you are trying to make a name or a difference? Well, you could just ask yourself one question. Do I care if I get credit for something, or do I care that something gets done? Name makers do not care whether they are making an impact on the world. They only care that you spelled their name right. They say they are change makers, and they may be, but they do not care whether the changes they make are going to have a positive impact. I once heard the great Bill Jones, the Unitarian Universalist humanist scholar, say that we often speak of change. But if you took your car to the mechanic and you needed a new battery because your car wouldn't start, and the mechanic changes the rear passenger tire, the car has been changed. But there wasn't a positive impact on the car because it still won't start. So one has to ask the question, do I want to make a change, or do I want to have an impact? Because I can change an institution and still not have an impact on the lives of the people in that institution. I could change the bylaws, I can pass resolutions, I can restructure the institution, I can change the leadership of the institution, I can do all of these changes and still not have an impact on the lives of the people the institution is purportedly serving. Change, contrary to popular belief, is actually easy. Having an impact, that's hard. Our Unitarian Universalist movement has had impacts on many issues. Same-sex marriage, women's rights. On many, many issues, we are 30 years ahead of other faith communities. But on some issues, like race and class, we are 30 years behind. We keep making changes, but we have had little or no impact. We changed the name of programs, we changed the language we're going to use, we changed leadership, and our impact has still been limited. And we keep thinking of ways to change and spend little time thinking about ways to have a lasting impact. Because to have a lasting impact is to first understand that transformation takes time. We can quickly make changes, but lasting impacts have to take time to take hold. In our rush to change things, we sometimes need to stop and hold back and ask, are we trying to make a change? Or are we going to try to make an impact? It's not always clear which one we want. But at least we should stop and ask the question, because that alone could help us focus our efforts. To make an impact, we have to meet people where they are now. We cannot expect people to already be who we want them to be. If they were those people already, we would have no work to do. So we must meet them where they are in order to bring them where they need to be. And to do that, we must speak in ways that can be heard. It does no good to speak if you cannot be heard. And how one speaks often determines if one will be heard. Are you speaking at people for the sake of speaking what you believe is the truth? Or are you speaking with people to share the truth you believe? Do you want to speak, or do you want to be heard? Now, there will be times when you will say your truth and it's only your truth, knowing that the people you are speaking to cannot actually hear what you are saying. If that's the case, then no, you were not trying to really have an impact or make a difference. You were speaking because you felt you had to. And certainly there is a place for speaking when no one is listening. I hope this isn't one of them. But they are few and far between when we are speaking only to ourselves, when we are standing on our soapboxes, proclaiming truth like prophets of old. We should go back to our very first question and ask again, am I trying to make a name, or am I trying to make a difference? The times we live in right now are ripe with potential for great transformational seeds to be planted. We may not see all of them blossom into the radically inclusive, compassionately welcoming, justice-demanding faith and world we dream of. We may not live long enough to reap the benefits of the work we do together, and there will be times when the work of creating the world we call beloved community will seem too hard, and we will just want to give up in despair. Times when we tire of preaching that same sermon week after week, make the world a better place. When we wonder if anyone notices the work we are doing, as flawed and as imperfect as it is. Days when if we see one more tweet, one more post, one more headline, we'll just scream. When we come to that place, we need to remember the colleagues whose names we heard tonight, who just kept climbing one mountain after another, speaking not just to speak, but to be heard, not concerned with change, but with having an impact, not caring to make a name, but to make a difference. Remember them, and then go out and climb your own mountain. Speak your own truth. Make your own impact. Make your difference, because this is what we are all called to do. Not just those on this stage, but each of us who calls ourselves Unitarian Universalists. We are bound together by an abiding faith in the power of humanity to transform the world. We are bound together by the belief that with these proverbial hands, we can build a future for ourselves and those not born yet that is better than the world we inherited. We are bound together by the knowledge that together, each of us, unique and valued for our differences, can make the dream of a world of peace and justice a reality. And when that day comes and someone calls out our names in remembrance, let it be said of us, "You may not know our names, but know this of us: we made a difference." Amen. Blessed be. Ashe. I love you.
Now will you rise in body or in spirit? Tom Lancaster will lead us in our final song, Rank by Rank, and I hope you have the words, because I don't.
Now, please rise in body or in spirit and let us join together in singing Rank by Rank.
believe it's not what you do, but how you do it. When we say that's how we do KC, people are taking notice. They feel the energy. They're joining the momentum. As for us, we're running with it. We're on a winning streak. One that's not stopping anytime soon. Because our passion, hard work, creativity, and innovation is built to last. And we're building with our hands, doing, making, and creating from the heart. All day, every day. It's not just a movement or an idea. It's a foundation, and it's speaking volumes. Now's not the time to slow down or get quiet. Now, we just get louder. That's how we do KC.
I know that seems a little odd in the service, but I had to introduce in front of 4,000 people at General Assembly Kansas City, and so I had to find something that embodied what our city has to offer, and I apologize for the loud and raucous video, but I thought it was kind of fun. My name's Gabby Cusco, and I'm a member of Smooch. I volunteered in February to be the local area coordinator, or LAC, which sounds awful, for General Assembly 2018. I'll be working with area volunteers to create welcoming spaces at Bartle Hall for approximately 4,000 UUs, and together we'll provide local information to convention attendees. We'll select social justice partners. I will be working with local volunteers, hopefully some from your congregation, to arrange for entertainment and cultural excursions so people can get to know Kansas City. And I will train the 2019 local area coordinator for General Assembly in Spokane, Washington. So things take many years to plan, and the UUA has quite a nice program for people like me to step into these roles and to have well-defined jobs. Here are some of the ways that UUs can help with General Assembly this June. 1, you can spread the word about GA and invite your friends and family to attend the General Assembly in Kansas City in June 20th and 24th in 2018. 2, you could offer a class or a workshop on something that your church does especially well to the association's membership. I do caution you, if you do want to present a workshop, you would have to have your proposal in by November. 3, you could be a volunteer to help with technology, accessibility, ushering, and you could get free registration to the General Assembly. If you live in the Kansas City area, you could even open your home or offer someone to have a place in an extra spare room or on a couch. And then those homestay or sort of Airbnb fees could be used to promote, to go into your church coffers or to also go to a nonprofit partner of your choice. You have lay leaders here among you that are already helping spread the word of GA by hosting the Traveling Chalice right here and creating today's service. And to all of those people who helped make that happen, I say thank you. Thank you, all of you. Metro area UUs can attend workshops to learn more about the volunteer opportunities at GA. Our first workshop has already taken place. It took place on June 10th at our church, Smooch, in Lenexa. We also have a Kansas City GA Facebook planning site, which all of you are welcome to join so you can see what's taken place already and what opportunities are ahead. And if you want to get involved, you could attend the second in a 4-part series of workshops on General Assembly here. The second one will take place on September 23rd at All Souls from 10 to 2 p.m. So I want to thank you for coming to today's service and considering the possibilities and welcoming travelers to our shared spiritual home. And I really want to thank you, Scott, especially Scott England, for pulling this all together. Really wonderful. I will be staying. My husband Bruce and I will be staying, so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
In closing, I'd like to share some words by Dorothy Day. People say, "What is the sense of our small effort? They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each of our thoughts, words, and deeds is like that. No one has a right to sit down and feel hopeless. There's just too much work to do."
And as we ease on down the road on our way to Kansas City, let's go. See you next year.
We send you out with the joyful song by Charlie Smalls from the musical The Wiz.
Four steps behind.